Hi Biology, this is Mrs. Kozian. This is Unit 5, Cellular Respiration, and this video is Cellular Respiration Chemical Pathways. Okay, so we are going to start first, you guys, talking about how do we go through cellular respiration, and then we'll end talking about how does it compare to photosynthesis. Okay, so here's our first part that we're going to start talking about. Here's our key vocabulary. Remember, you don't have to write that down. Okay guys, now that we have made glucose in photosynthesis, we are going to go through cellular respiration and release the energy created in photosynthesis, okay? Photosynthesis is a storing process, and cellular respiration releases the energy that's stored, okay? This is just a quick little comic. Remember, you guys, mighty mitochondria, that's the organelle in your cells that helps to process energy. That's the one that we're going to be talking about today. Okay, cellular respiration. First thing is you need to know, you guys, cellular respiration is used by all living things, including plants, animals, fungus, microbacteria. All living things have to go through this, and it happens in the mitochondria. So plants go through photosynthesis to make their food. Then they use cellular respiration to release the energy they stored in photosynthesis so they can actually use it. Okay? And animals, we get our energy from eating these plants, so we take in the glucose, then we use cellular respiration to release it. Okay? And then here's the formula, you guys, you've probably already written that down in a reading guide and in your FTFs, but go ahead and jot it down again really quick in your notes. Okay, first step in cellular respiration is called glycolysis. Now think, glycolysis sounds like glucose. What that means is we're going to process glucose. This is like we're just going to chop up glucose so that we can use it. We're not going to release very much energy yet. This happens in the cytoplasm, so we're not in the mitochondria yet. It takes in and chops up glucose, and it chops that glucose in half. So we get two of these things called pyruvic acids. We end up with two little ATPs, okay, so not a lot of energy, and these things called NADH. This NADH is carrying this hydrogen ion, which means it's going to carry energy to the next level for us. Later, we're going to use that hydrogen ion to help make more ATP. Okay, now from here, after glycolysis, if I have oxygen, I'm going to go through what I call aerobic respiration. So after glycolysis, if I've got oxygen, my next step is going to be called the Krebs cycle. And then the last one is the electron transport chain. Remember, aerobic is in the presence of oxygen, not air, oxygen. Now the opposite, after glycolysis, if I don't have any oxygen, if I've run out of oxygen, I'm going to go through a process called anaerobic respiration. And we call that fermentation. Now, there's two types. There's alcoholic fermentation, which is used more by like yeast and bacteria. And there's one called lactic acid fermentation. That's the one that you guys go through. That's the one that you feel when your muscles are burning after exercise. It's called lactic acid fermentation. All right, so here you go. A little more about fermentation. After glycolysis, no oxygen. I'm going to go to fermentation. It doesn't last long, and it makes no ATP. It's not very good for us. We can't be in fermentation for very long. Okay, and then here's your two types. Lactic acid fermentation, that's what happens in humans, and then alcoholic fermentation. Okay, now we're done with fermentation. Okay, let's say we've gone through that part, or we decided we're going to have some oxygen. We're going to move on to the Krebs cycle. Okay, this is called aerobic respiration. Okay, first one. So I got done with glycolysis. I've got oxygen. I'm going to move on to the Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle is number 2. It's aerobic. This one happens inside the mitochondria, because the other two that we've talked about happen in the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm means like no oxygen. So glycolysis, fermentation, those both happen in the cytoplasm. So I made these pyruvic acids. I chopped up glucose and made them in glycolysis. Now I'm going to use them as my ingredients or my reactants in the Krebs cycle. So I'm going to take these two in. At the end, I'm going to create CO2. Remember, that's a product of cellular respiration. That's going to be one of my waste products. And I'm also going to get 2 more ATPs out of this. Last step. Okay, still aerobic respiration, still happening in the mitochondria. This is called the electron transport chain, and that's exactly what it does, is it transports high energy electrons to help us put together ATPs. Okay, it's going to take in oxygen this time. Okay, so right now, remember reactants for cellular respiration are oxygen and glucose. I took in glucose in glycolysis. Now I'm taking in my oxygen. Products, I already put out CO2 during the Krebs cycle. One of my products here is going to be water. Okay, so these are my two reactants during this part that I'm going to use. Oxygen and this NADH. Remember these little H's, any of these NADHs I've been making are going to help me later on to make ATPs. So I use those to help fuel the process that makes all these ATPs. Look at all these ATPs I end up with. So that's a lot at the very end. And then I end up with water as a waste product. Okay, now, photosynthesis versus respiration. You guys need to understand and be able to compare and contrast the two. Okay, first remember, photosynthesis stores energy, cellular respiration is going to release it. Here are both the formulas again. Okay, you guys do not need to write these again, just take a look at them, okay? Reactants for one, okay? CO2 and water are the products of the other, okay? Energy goes in here. Usually I would put this energy actually above this arrow, you guys, and that would be represented by sunlight. Energy is going in and we store it in glucose. Here, energy in glucose is being released as ATP and heat energy. Okay. And remember here, products of this one, reactants of the next one. All right, you guys, that is it for your notes for cellular respiration.